Hello again and welcome to Inside Wyoming Basketball with head coach Larry Shyatt. It's great to have you along. We've got a bunch of highlights to take a look at. It's been the Cowboys been very busy since we visited last. 4 games since we did our last show, Coach, and 2 of them on the road, 2 of them at home. That all started a couple of weeks ago with that long road trip, a week out. Again, Cowboys started at San Jose State, and this has been a very resilient Cowboy team on the travel. And here you go with a big road trip starting at San Jose State.
We well may be the most consistent team in the country because all 4 of those games we just completed with about 2.5 minutes to go, or sometimes 2.5 seconds to go. Nobody knew who was going to win. And credit to this new bunch, because whether it's been home, whether it's on the road, San Jose, not too big of a crowd. New Mexico, sort of big crowd. The results have been the same. With 1 minute and 2 to go, we're in position to win the game. At San Jose, we came up short. We had 2 turnovers in the last 30 seconds that cost us the game. In New Mexico, quite the opposite. We knock in some big foul shots down the home stretch and win probably one of the most credible games we've had during our 5 years here in the pit.
Oh, that was some win. Of course, Josh Adams had a career-high 38 points in that game. Cowboys needed all of them, but it wasn't just Josh in this one. We have to point out that there are a lot of great roles played by that supporting cast in that New Mexico game.
Well, we took close to 7 charges, and we knew we had to get in front of Brown, we had to get in front of Neal, and we had to do something on the glass against the big fella. And so what we did was try to cut that 3-headed monster off in Albuquerque. We came home with a heck of a road burn.
It had been 13 years since the Cowboys had won in Albuquerque. Some pretty good teams had gone in there and not been able to take a win out of there. This young team got it done, and boy, you talk about just tough, hard-nosed, stick-to-itiveness and teamwork. That's kind of what we saw with that game.
No question. You know, this is a ball club that's gone to the Pan Am Center, New Mexico State and won, and the Pit and won. If I read correctly, it had been since 1985 since anybody, this was Bear Haskins at the time, that won both those games on the road in the same year. So, you know, as much as we would like all of the W's, I think this team has really showed, as you said, not just resiliency, but a level of competitiveness and toughness against some of the best teams on our schedule.
Yeah, Coach, just last week the Cowboys would come home and take on 2 very good teams. I think we're finding out just how good and balanced this league is when you have Nevada and Boise State at home.
Well, and 2 more games right down to the wire. You know, we battled Nevada at their place, lost on a 3-point shot with 15 seconds to go. And the game would swing here with a little bit of a technical issue. We had a 7-point lead that evaporated to 1 very quickly, and then it was just toe-to-toe in the last 30 seconds. Good crowd, good energy, and we would come back on Saturday and play against probably the most heralded, experienced team in the league, Boise State. We'd play without Josh, and you know what? A great learning experience. We'd only average probably 3-4 minutes a game without Josh. Here we'd play 40 minutes without him, and again, 4 minutes to play in the game, 4-point game, our ball.
I thought the Cowboys picked it up to a man without their captain, without their leading scorer, rebounder, assist man. Jason McManaman, a career-high 25, but it wasn't just the scoring. I mean, this was a team effort that really gave Boise State all they needed.
Yeah, it was their ancillary players, actually, that beat us that night. And, you know, Jackson, a transfer from Boston College, 5th-year player. And, you know, Mikey Williams came in, and he made some big shots, big drives at the right times. Those last 3 minutes cost us.
Yeah, it was a big win for Boise State. I thought the Cowboys just fought tooth and nail, and that has become kind of the personality of this team, don't you think? Just tough, may not have the personnel to go against you, but we're going to fight you tooth and nail, and that's what the Cowboys have done.
Yeah, we did a better job rebounding the last few games. And, you know, we came in the season in June and July. It was pretty obvious to us. Yeah. 3 interior players, true freshmen, 2 interior players, sophomores, none of whom had any college experience. And I think little by little they've battled really hard on the glass, each one of them at different times. Some guys played really well certain nights, some guys a little weaker. But the one common denominator, they're getting better as a group.
Getting better, absolutely. Well, stay with us. We have more to come on Inside Wyoming Basketball with head coach Larry Shyatt. We're back with more right after this timeout.
Inside Wyoming Basketball with Larry Shyatt is brought to you by Wyoming Relay, the University of Wyoming Outreach School, the University of Wyoming International Programs Office, and your Magnificent 7 Wyoming Toyota dealers.
Well, he is the biggest Wyoming cowboy at 6'10", 245 pounds, the thickest Wyoming cowboy, and when he's on the floor, things generally happen. A lot of fun watching Jonathan Barnes play. Our own Kevin McKinney had a chance to sit down and visit with JB.
Jonathan Barnes, everybody knows you as JB. I don't know if that's the nickname you had when you were with your family, but you have a very interesting route to the University of Wyoming, and I think it's way cool that you're one of 9 children in the Barnes family, and all of you were homeschooled. And tell us a little bit what that was like, and maybe a little bit why that happened.
It was an amazing experience just to be able to grow up and be as close to my siblings and my parents as I am right now. So the experience itself was pretty interesting. My mom homeschooled all of us, so there's 9 of us. But she really homeschooled, really taught the oldest 4. And then after that, it was kind of a trickle-down effect. Whatever she taught them, they ended up teaching us. So I ended up teaching my little brother algebra, English, and history. And that kind of solidified what I had learned myself by teaching it to the younger siblings. So it was an interesting experience.
Were you a good teacher?
I hope so. And that's actually something that I'm interested in getting a degree in, is education, just because of that experience of teaching my siblings.
You started a little bit late with the game of basketball. You didn't really get into it until you were a sophomore in high school. Was that a little difficult to start at that point? And how would you do it after homeschooling? Then you'd go to the school and practice. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, it was interesting. I would do my my homework at home, and then one of my coaches who I drove by my house every day on the way to practice would pick me up, and then I would go there. And so it was weird for a team dynamic because I never had classes. So for the first whole year, I was just showing up, and these people were like, "Who's this strange kid? We never see him at any of these classes, but he's on our team apparently." So it was definitely an interesting experience.
And certainly another one. It's difficult, I think, probably to start college for any freshman, but for an individual that had never been in a class with other people, that had to be an adjustment as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. When I was learning something that wasn't my mom or it wasn't an older sibling, it was completely different. The whole dynamic, and just not being able to just wake up and do school in my bed or just in my pajamas. I mean, most people go to school in their pajamas nowadays anyways, but it was definitely an interesting experience. I mean, looking around and then having just that whole the amount of pressure that you had during finals. I didn't really have tests like that. So that's all been a huge learning curve for me, but it's been a great experience, and a lot of support system here at the University of Wyoming is just unbelievable. Between the staff over at the OAS and even the coaching staff does a really good job of making sure that us as athletes are able to overcome whatever learning curve, whether it is basketball or in school itself.
You have to be very proud. You are the first Barnes to go to college, and that has to be a very good feeling for you.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Honestly, I couldn't do it without my family. I'm just blessed that they come up to almost every single game they can. They're going to be coming out for the Mountain West tournament, and it's a humbling experience to know that I have so many people that have my back and that have just pushed me to try to reach for my dreams.
And of course, here you are playing college basketball, which has to be a dream for you. The adjustment there is still going on. I know of nobody that works any harder at it than you do. And talk a little bit about how you approach the game and this new experience.
I think for the most part, the way I try to approach it is that every day is just a chance that I need to get better. I can't really come at it like I'm a superstar. A lot of my teammates, had a lot of accolades in high school and stuff, but that's not really me. I've always kind of been an underdog as far as nobody really knew who I was. The coaching staff here really gave me a chance, and so every day I'm just blessed to be able to do what I love. So it's just about learning and growing and at the end of the day, if I can give back to the University of Wyoming by the way I play, then I want to be able to do that. So always just, I got to give 100% and expect that it might not come back right now. As you can tell, like, I haven't been playing as well as I'd like to, but I have to trust that it's a process, and that if I give 100% for this year, like I did last year, and continue, then I'm going to reap the benefits of that.
Jonathan Barnes, there's a look at the future of Cowboy basketball. Here's a guy that just needs to play more. He hasn't played a whole lot of basketball in his life. He's still learning the game, but some raw ability and raw talent there, Coach.
When you have the attitude and the personal makeup that Jonathan probably learned from his mother and father and great family at home, then you know what? You got a prize. And you don't know when that prize is going to awaken, but down the road, he's going to be really fun to coach. At the moment, you're talking about a guy that's just sort of blossoming, does something different every day, but probably the best attitude, the most giving, kind young man that I've coached in 41 years.
Yeah, a lot of fun to be around, that's for sure. Jonathan Barnes. Well, stay with us. We have more to come on Inside Wyoming Basketball. We're back right after this. Well, he has come on, playing a lot for the Cowboys now, on the point, and doing just great. Jeremy Lieberman, the sophomore from Calabasas, California, has come on to put in some big minutes for the Cowboys. Let's get to know Jeremy Lieberman.
There's no question that, Jeremy has worked hard since he was a little kid to be a great shooter. Whether it's a catch and shoot, whether it's off the bounce, there's nobody that puts in more time than Jeremy does into the gym. But I think that the reason why his minutes have gone up and his role has expanded this year has been Jeremy's commitment to taking care of the ball and having a great assist-turnover ratio and his ability to defend. I think he's really improved as far as his commitment on the defensive end. Because as you well know, you can be the most talented offensive player, but if you don't play defense, then Papa Shy's not going to play you. So I think he figured that out, and to me, that's been Jeremy's biggest progression from his freshman to sophomore year, was those two areas.
I mean, they stress it the second you come in. There was practices where that's all we concentrate on is just defense. I mean, I came from an offensive high school. Like, that's all we worried about. Coming here, I think it was great for my game and great for my growth as a player. So I feel like I'm able to do what they ask and perform at that level.
He's been playing basketball a long time. His intellect is getting better and better. And kind of like Riley Graybo, Jeremy's not the greatest athlete in the world, but intellect can defeat talent. And if you know where to go and you pay attention to scouting report, how to play certain individuals, that gives you a leg up. And I think Jeremy's done a great job of being a student of the game, understanding what his shortcomings are, but understanding what he's really good at. And in turn, it's made him a better defender. He can help us get stops. He can shrink the floor. And that really helps us become a better defensive ball club.
I try to work on my weaknesses. Obviously, getting up shots, it's mandatory, but some ball handling, working on some floaters, you never know if you might need it, some finishes around the rim, just making sure the tools are all sharp, making sure everything's ready to go come game time. I put in time every day, extra work. I'm always staying late after practice, coming early, and I think it was bound to happen. I got off to a slow start, definitely, but as of late, I've been knocking some shots in and making some plays and taking care of the ball.
First of all, Jeremy's borderline or is the hardest working kid on our team. The downside of getting in the gym a lot by yourself is that you're in the gym a lot by yourself. So I think that there's no question that the thing that helped Jeremy the most with playing in the Maccabi games this summer was that it was organized 5-on-5 basketball. It was special situations. It was playing defense. It was running plays. It was competing to win. Because anytime you can get reps like that, whether it's within your own team or overseas against pros, I think that was a real benefit for Jeremy.
It helped me be more of a leader. Just get some play. I didn't really play a whole lot my freshman year. So just getting out there, getting some run, it let me try my new defense out with Coach Shyatt's principles. bringing that to that team. And I was technically our best defender. I guarded the best players every game, and it was great.
You know, I think they're different types of players, but I do think as Jeremy gets older and older and he gets more and more experience and his intellect keeps growing, you're going to see a lot of the Riley Graybo as far as just being able to steady the ship, being an extension of the coach on the floor, and always staying one step ahead of the action. That I think is going to be a product of experience and being a veteran.
Well, against Boise State, Jeremy Lieberman was pressed into duty, played a lot of minutes in that game with no Josh Adams, but his minutes have been picking up, and he is progressing and just getting better and better, it seems, with each minute he plays. Jeremy Lieberman, coach.
I see a lot every day at practice, in games, in terms of improvement, in terms of a level of maturity. He's fun to coach. And I got to tell you, this guy named Graybo, who we all fell in love with in the later stages of his career, this is what we're seeing from Lieberman. A couple of big games against UNLV, some big shots. Against New Mexico, some really big shots. You know what? He struggled a little bit the other night against a pretty formidable Boise team without Josh, but this was a good learning experience. Love him to death, and I'm equally proud at a 4.0 this past semester.
How about that? Just a great student, great in the classroom, great on the floor, and a pretty good leader out there, too, it seems. When we see him on the floor, he can take charge.
Well, Dave, 6 weeks from now, we'll be Joshless. Yeah. And that's when these guys do have to take over. Reality will set in about 10, 11 games.
You bet. Jeremy Lieberman, he's been a lot of fun for the Cowboys. And you stay with us. We have more to come on Inside Wyoming Basketball with head coach Larry Shyatt. We're back after this timeout.
Inside Wyoming Basketball with Larry Shyatt is brought to you by Wyoming Relay, the University of Wyoming Outreach School, the University of Wyoming International Programs Office, and your Magnificent 7 Wyoming Toyota dealers.
Well, it'll be a couple of weeks before we come back with another Inside Wyoming Basketball show, and 4 games the Cowboys will undertake before we visit again, a couple on the road, a couple at home. It starts on Tuesday night when the Cowboys go to Fresno State, and they're back home for a game against Colorado State. So that's a big week, an early roadie, and then that big rival game on Saturday.
Yeah, short turnaround for Fresno, which I don't think will affect us because we've had a couple of scheduling situations this year to prepare us for short turnarounds. And a really formidable Fresno team, a team that's playing 5 or 6 transfers who are all older, and then how can you not mention Fresno without Marvell? He is a marvel, and he's a tall order. We'll have to have our shoes tied tight to guard him anywhere on the floor. And then we come back for a home game Saturday, actually back-to-back Saturday games. Really excited about that because our students, incredibly enough, have not been on campus for 6.5 weeks.
Yeah, back-to-back road games, too, on Tuesday, Coach. We talked about Fresno. Next Tuesday, the following Tuesday, the Cowboys will be at Air Force Academy to take on the Air Force Academy Falcons. Then back for another Saturday afternoon game, as you said, 2 in a row for the Cowboys. But this is a stretch right here where you kind of going over, after the Fresno game, the Cowboys will have played 9 conference games midway through the conference season. So we're kind of getting over the hump in conference play here.
Well, it'll be a level of separation for a lot of people. I would say in the next 2 weeks, there'll be some separation. Who? We don't know. Nobody knows. What I like about our team is they've never been counted out. With 3 or 4 minutes to go, they're always thinking about learning, and they're putting themselves in position to win games.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter where the Cowboys play, it seems, Coach. I mean, you've got a couple of roadies coming up here. That doesn't seem to matter. This team really is resilient and all those things that you look for in a team when you take them out on the road.
Statistically, we are very, very similar, both home and away, big crowds, small crowds. Uniquely, the way we're built, I worried about that last summer, but I've really been proud of the way these guys have competed, especially against the most talented teams on our schedule.
Absolutely, right in those games, right up until the end. Now, what about this illness, flu bug, sickness thing that's been running through this Cowboy team, and now it's kind of running through the coaching staff? But how are the Cowboys coming through that phase?
You know, Dave, some are finishing up, some are just getting started. It's not unique just just to our team. They've never made excuses. We had about 3 or 4 of them taking IVs before that Boise game, but boy, you know what? When they threw it up, you never would have known it. We have to take a step back and maybe a little less practice time until we get everybody healthy, but that's part of what the winter brings to a lot of basketball teams.
Coach, there's no accounting just how important Josh Adams is to this team. He's your captain. He's your lone senior. He leads in so many categories. That's the numbers part of it. But what he means to this team is so huge for the Cowboys. He's back. That's the good news. You'll have him at Fresno.
He's back. He's healthy. He means a great deal, not just to this team. He means a great deal to this staff and our family. And disappointed that we lost him for a game. We'll have some comments at the appropriate time, that's for certain, when I choose. But in the meantime, you know what? 2 days off, a heck of a cheerleader for the Boise game, almost got us over the hump. I thought maybe I'd get him a towel.
Yeah, and it was so important, I thought, the way the Cowboys gathered it up in that Boise State game. And, I mean, it's all about team, and it's all about ado, and those things for the Cowboys, and they really showed that without Josh.
We were aggressive.
Yeah.
We had a level of discipline, and we most certainly were unselfish knocking in those threes. We just didn't have enough in the tank to finish the game the last 3 minutes. But a lot to be said for Boise. A veteran team, picked 1 or 2 depending on the poll, and you know what? They deserve it.
You bet. Well, we'll have a lot of highlights to look at next time around, so come back and join us here on Inside Wyoming Basketball with head coach Larry Shyatt. That'll do it for us. For the head coach, I'm Dave Walsh. So long, everybody.
Lead change to get to this 4-point edge. Adams, oh my goodness, what a shooter. How does Adams do that? Lockwood duped again. Adams, another make, his 7th 3. Wyoming wins at New Mexico.